Hello chess friends and welcome to the channel. With game 16 between Firouzja and Carlsen, we will end our coverage of the Chess24 Banter Blitz Final. 7 points and a half to 7 points and a half after 15 games, so this 16th game can be and will be the match point. Firouzja with the white pieces, Carlsen with black. Let's get started. Firouzja opens with d4 and Carlsen answers with c5, the Sicilian. Knight to c3, not the first time that Firouzja fights Carlsen Sicilian with this move. Here comes a6, not a bad move at all, because now white can't play bishop to b5, and if he goes for the classical close Sicilian, then this a6 pawn will support a fast b5 push, and we know that a fast queenside attack is the best strategy for the black player against the closed. So after a6, knight to f3, d6, and now g3 for the bishop in fianchetto. Now bishop to g4, pinning the knight, doesn't seem to me that this line gives black great practical results. Much better to keep going with knight to c6 and then bishop to e7 and a possible b5 after, of course, other important moves. Now after bishop to g4, here comes the simple bishop to g2, knight to c6, h3 targeting the bishop, bishop captures on f3, queen recaptures on f3. It's true that the queen is a bit funny here on f3, but it's also true that black just lost the bishop pair, so something to consider. g6, and this bishop will become strong. Also with the help of d6 and of this knight, the central dark squares will be under black's control. Now short castle and bishop to g7, knight back to e2, knight to f6, and now c3. Of course, the idea is to, at first, to close a bit this diagonal, but then to push with d4. Knight to d7, rook to d1 will support the d4 push, queen to b6, and now a strange move, but something that was useful during the game. Queen to e3, now also the queen is helping this d4 push, and let's see what happens. Short castle for black, d4 finally comes, c captures, and even if white has only one problem, and the problem is this undeveloped bishop on c1, that can become a real problem, but if white can solve this situation, then white is better. This bishop is a problem because can't move to d2 because it will block the rook section and black can capture on d4. So now can't even move to b2 because if now white continues with b3, there is this knight jump that is a bit boring, and the bishop is disconnecting the rooks, and with the open file white can't place one rook on c1. So what to do now for black? Simplest idea is what Carlsen plays. Rook in a goes to c8, the c file is open, and Carlsen is the only one that can place the rooks on it. Rook to b1, this is a good idea. There is also the b4 push now that is good, because now with the pawn on b4, black can't jump on b4 anymore, and this knight jump would also bother a2. And why? Because of course if b4 black can't capture, because the knight becomes pinned, the simple a3 wins the game. Now rook to c7, of course now the idea to double the rooks on the c file is the best idea. And here comes h4, the second rook moves to c8, and now bishop to h3. Suddenly also Firouzja has a powerful bishop. Now h5 is not the main plan, because h4 was mainly played to be able to relocate the bishop to this important diagonal, but in future, who knows, maybe h5 is coming, and so Carlsen will stop this idea immediately. h5, also this pawn is controlling this important outpost for one or both the knights. Here comes queen to d2. Firouzja wants to advance the d4 pawn to d5, but of course he wants to advance the pawn without giving Carlsen the chance to exchange the queens. Because exchanging the queens, it seems to favor black. Here comes e6, that wants to stop this idea. So with the pawn that is closing the diagonal of this bishop and also controlling d5. But if we go back one move, Carlsen just missed a tactic. Not a difficult tactic to spot if you have time to calculate, because there are 3 branches of the tree to analyze. Now, what is the tactic? Of course, now the idea is to capture on d4, but if black begins the sequence of these captures with the obvious knight captures on d4, this move doesn't work. Now the knight recaptures on d4, bishop captures on d4, and white has time to play the intermediate capture. Bishop captures on d7, the rook must recapture, and now this bishop is lost. But going back to queen to d2, now if black captures on d4 with the bishop, then the situation is completely different. Bishop captures on d4, knight captures on d4, knight captures on d4, and now white has no time to play this intermediate capture, because bishop captures on d7. After bishop captures on d7, there is the knight jump that wins the queen and also the game. So now this is a mess, because what to do? Black just won one pawn, the game is not compromised yet. Now, of course, if white must stop this series of capture, because if white keeps exchanging pieces, then this idea really loses the game, because after the queen exchange and also other pieces exchange, then of course with less material on the board, then this pawn that black just won becomes more and more important. So after these knight captures on d4, best idea is to play queen to e3, controlling this f3 square, pinning the knight, because the queen is unprotected, and the game can, of course, there is a lot to play, but white can easily play for a draw. Let's go back to our game. Instead, after queen to d2, with the idea of keep pushing, there is no time to calculate all these variations, and so here comes e6, that wants to close the bishop's diagonal and also wants to control d5. But d5 comes the same, e captures, queen captures, and white is better. Knight to f6, queen to d3, knight to e5, queen to e3, and now black is almost forced to exchange the queens. Queen captures, bishop captures. Let's stop a bit, and we notice that white was really able to solve this bishop problem. Now what happens? It happens that there is pressure against the isolated d6 pawn. This rook is under attack. Not possible to defend the pawn with the rook to d8, because there is the skewer bishop to b6. And so what to do? Now, if Carlsen has time to think, he would play knight in f goes to g4, that blocking this bishop is also beginning to free this important diagonal for the strong bishop on g7, and then there is to play, and black can really play for a draw, but without time. This position is really difficult to play for Carlsen. So rook to e8, now not rook capture, because black can retaliate capturing on e4 also with tempo. So knight to c3 protecting e4, and now knight to c4. Bishop to d4 played by Firouzja is good. This young Alireza is really good in spotting these little tactics very fast, because now what is the threat? The threat is bishop captures, the bishop must recapture, then there is the knight fork, the bishop is unprotected, must move back to d8, and white wins the exchange. So terrible problem to solve in 1 second. Knight to g4, good move. Knight to d5, attacking the rook, and now rook to c6. Here comes f3, pushing back this knight. At first, the bishop captures on d4, we check. The rook recaptures. And now, knight to e5, there is this problem. So, king to f2. And now, is Firouzja with the fork on the board. King to g7, avoiding this fork. Now, bishop to f1, because now this bishop is not doing anything good. So, Firouzja must improve the coordination of his pieces. Rook to d8, and now b3. Knight back to b6. Better not to exchange, and Firouzja is very fast in taking these decisions. Knight back to e3. This is a really well centralized knight. This knight doesn't know where to go. Now, king to f6. Carlsen is running with his king to protect d6 so that he can free this rook. Rook in b goes to d1, and now king to e7. Bishop to e2, the rook moves to c8. Now Firouzja doesn't play with rush, but with extreme care. Rook to d2, and now it's time for Carlsen to find a good move. This is a normal good move because now the second rank is well protected. Rook to c7, and now f4. Knight back to d7, bishop to f3, and this is another tactical problem because now e5 wins material, because if black moves away this rook, then this pawn capture is also a fork that wins the game. What to do? Knight back to f8, there is the idea of knight to e6 attacking the rook, so simple rook back to d3, and now knight to e6. Now in this position, knight to d5 we check is already winning, but there is no time to spot new tactics, so Firouzja can finally advance this e5 pawn that he had in mind from a long time. So now that he can advance this pawn, he plays this move that he already had in mind and that is winning. Let's go back one move. Here comes e5. What to do? To capture is the best idea. Now bishop captures on c6, wins the exchange. The rook recaptures on c6, and now f captures on e5. Knight to c5, attacking the rook. Rook to d4. Now it seems easy, no, to find these good squares for the rooks, but these two knights in seconds can be dangerous. The blunder is behind the corner, we say in Italy. So king to e6, rook to d6 we check, is able to exchange this important rook. King captures on e5, rook captures, and now the b pawn recaptures. Now let's pay attention because there is the knight fork. So rook to c2, knight to e4 we check, and king to f3. Here comes c5, where the pawn is protected. Rook to e2, even if there is the knight here, but this move is pinning this knight. So here comes f5, protecting the knight, but now there is another weakness on the board. Knight to g2, the weakness of course is g6, knight to d5, and now knight to f4. Knight captures, g captures we check, king to d4, and now rook to g2, attacking the weakness. There is no way to protect this pawn, so what to do? Carlsen tries to find some counterplay here on the queen side. Knight to c3 looks fantastic, but can you spot the mating one? Now rook to d2 is mating one because the king can't escape. But as we said before, there is no time to look for new opportunities. Firouzja has a winning plan in mind and executes it. Let's go back to this position. Of course, knight to c3, only way to try to find the counterplay. Rook captures on g6 and knight captures on e2. Rook to g5, of course, between these two pawns, better to capture on the h5 because a far pawn is a more dangerous pawn. Knight to c1, and also Carlsen wants to free the way for his pass pawns. Rook captures on h5, knight captures on b3. Now that the h pawn is free to advance, there is no need to lose time and capture this other pawn. Better to use this rook to defend the position from behind. Rook to h8, c4, rook to d8 we check, and now king to c3. h5, this pawn is advancing. Knight to d4, we check. So, with the principle of acceleration, Carlsen tries to bring back this knight to protect against the pawn. But here comes a nice simplification. Rook captures on d4 is very good, also because recapturing the king is on the wrong diagonal, because this pawn promoting will promote we check. So another tempo loss for black. h6, c3, h7, king to d3, preventing h8 we check. The pawn becomes a queen, now c2, and now queen to b2, guarding this promotion square. King to d2, queen to d4 we check. What to play? King to c1. King to e2 is blocking the way for the king on this right side. Here comes a5, because of course played in half second, but queen to a1 is checkmate. This victory was decisive. With this victory, Firouzja won the cup against a perplexed world champion Magnus Carlsen. Time to rest for them? Not at all, because this afternoon, the strongest online tournament ever organized by Chess24 will begin. 16 straight days of rapid chess with Carlsen, Firouzja, and other 6 top grandmasters. The two Carlsen's arch enemies, Nakamura, the speed demon, and Anish Giri. Then Caruana and Ying, Nepomniachtchi, and Maxime Vachier-Lagrave. So, of course, I will show you all the best games, so don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Thank you very much for watching, and see you later. Goodbye!